I stood before the shattered lock on my garage door, my fists tightening with a fury that burned deep. The sheer gall of the Pinewood Heights Homeowners Association wasn't just a slap in the face, it was a full-on declaration of war. They didn't just trespass, they stormed my property, tore into my garage, looted every tool I owned like thieves in the night, and left a smug notice on my workbench, daring me to fight back. They thought they could crush me. They had no clue they just ignited a fire in the wrong man. I wasn't some weekend handyman. I'm a retired DoD weapons engineer, and they just handed me a new battlefield. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment below because you're about to witness these power-hungry tyrants get dismantled, exposed, and buried under their arrogance. This is going to be a wild ride. I moved to Pinewood Heights to escape, not to fight. After 20 years designing cutting-edge munitions for the Department of Defense, and 2 years grieving my late wife, I craved quiet. Just me, my tools, and the hum of a cold garage. But peace is a fragile thing when power gets restless. Enter Margaret Voss, the HOA's self-anointed queen. Blonde bob, clipboard like a scepter, and a voice that could curdle milk. She didn't ask, she commanded. She didn't greet, she fined. It started small, a neighbor's Christmas lights deemed too chaotic, a kid's treehouse labeled a structural hazard. Then she zeroed in on me. My pickup truck was too rugged. My solar panels were an eyesore. But my garage? That drove her wild. Always locked, always buzzing, and none of her business. She showed up once, clipboard in hand, fake smile plastered on. I need to inspect your garage. She chirped, like I owed her my soul. No, I shot back, stone cold. This is my property. Her smile twitched. HOA Code 12.1c requires. I cut her off. I build missiles, Margaret. You want to talk codes? She flinched, just a flicker, but I saw it, fear. She didn't retreat, though. She doubled down. 3 days later, while I was visiting an old army buddy in Nevada, she struck. I came home to a violated garage, lock severed, keypad smashed, tools gone. A note sat on my workbench. Confiscated per HOA emergency authority. Contact Margaret Voss. My hands shook once, then steadied. I walked to a hidden panel in the wall, slid it open, and stared at what Margaret didn't know existed: blueprints, steel, and a single phrase scrawled on an old schematic: retired doesn't mean defenseless. The silence in the garage was unnatural, heavy, like the air after a bomb blast. The lock hung like a broken bone, cut clean by bolt cutters. I raised the door, and it groaned in shame. My workbench was stripped. Tool chests gutted. Precision drills, lathes, even my plasma cutter, gone. In the center of the floor, Margaret's note mocked me. I crushed it in my fist. Every tool she stole was registered, some tied to classified DoD projects under federal oversight. She didn't just steal, she committed a felony, grinning all the while, thinking her HOA badge trumped the law. I stormed inside, heart pounding, and knelt by a concealed panel in my closet. Behind it, cache, encrypted drives, and blueprints from Black Ops contracts. I spread them out: perimeter defense grids, sonic disruptors, non-lethal traps. Margaret wanted a fight over wrenches? She was about to meet a man forged in Pentagon bunkers with nothing left to lose. That night, I turned my garage into a war room. Under the hum of a backup generator, I unrolled blueprints thick with dust and grease. Designs for containment fields, pressure traps, and acoustic rigs. Tools? She took the tools. I was building a reckoning. By 2 a.m., I was welding anchor plates into the concrete, sparks flying like a meteor shower. My hands moved on instinct, honed in classified hangars. You want compliance, Margaret? I muttered. I'll give you a master class. By dawn, my property was a fortress. Infrared sensors are buried in the lawn. Silent alarms in the gutters. Pressure plates under the driveway pavers. Every petty citation she'd ever issued became fuel for my traps. I wasn't breaking laws, I was enforcing boundaries. When she came back, she wouldn't find a pushover. She'd find a battlefield. 3 nights later, the first alarm blinked. 2 figures crept up my driveway, flashlights bobbing, clipboards in hand. Margaret's lackeys, no doubt, drunk on her promises of power. I killed the lights and waited. Boots crunched gravel. They paused, whispering, probably planning another raid. The first stepped onto the walkway. Click. A pressure plate triggered, and a low-frequency sonic pulse blasted from the gutters. They stumbled, clutching their heads, skulls squeezed in an invisible vice. One lunged forward, desperate, and hit trap 2, a steel cable snare that yanked his legs out, slamming him into the dirt. His partner sprinted for the porch. Big mistake. A net of microfilament cables dropped, tangling him like a fly in a web. He crashed onto my doormat, thrashing. I stepped outside, boots grinding gravel. "You've got 60 seconds to explain why you're trespassing," I said, voice low. 59. The pin man gasped. "Margaret sent us a compliance check." I laughed, cold. "Compliance doesn't mean breaking." I snatched their clipboard. Fake citations, no HOA seal, just Margaret's initials. "Tell her," I growled, snapping it in half. "Next time, send lawyers, not lapdogs." I disarmed the traps with a remote flick. They scrambled off, tripping over their fear. The porch camera caught it all. This wasn't over. Margaret would spin this, paint me as the villain. Fine. I wasn't fighting to negotiate. I was fighting to win. By morning, Pinewood Heights reeked of fear. Curtains stayed drawn. Whispers replaced hellos. Margaret's volunteer patrols stalked the streets, clipboards like weapons, phones out to record violations. It was intimidation dressed as community pride. But I wasn't alone. At noon, old Mr. Callahan, 80, a Vietnam vet, knocked. "They find my wheelchair ramp," he rasped. "Said it's unsightly?" My jaw clenched. An hour later, the Parkers, a young family, showed up, fined for their kids' swing set. Then the Gwynns, new immigrants, were cited for flying a Korean flag. Then Mrs. Hensley, fined for a second mailbox because her bad hip couldn't handle the walk. Margaret wasn't protecting the neighborhood, she was choking it. In my living room, a quiet rebellion formed. I unrolled an old DoD schematic for signal jamming. "We don't fight her in meetings," I said. "We outsmart her." I handed out pocket-sized scramblers, surplus tech to block her cameras and mask phone signals. They looked at me like I'd given them dynamite. "You're not helpless," I said. "She just wants you to think you are." They left with fire in their eyes. Margaret could smell defiance. Let her choke on it. Her next move came at noon. 3 goons in HOA polos marched up my driveway, Margaret watching from the curb, clipboard raised like a war flag. A red-lettered property seizure order flapped in her hand, illegal and laughable. I stepped onto the porch, silent, steady. The first goon reached the garage. Click. A steel net dropped, wrapping him tight. He hit the ground, howling. The second charged, boom, a sonic pulse dropped him, vomiting, clutching his head. The third hesitated, too late. Gutters hissed, spraying irritant gas. He collapsed, choking, eyes streaming. Margaret shrieked, "You're violating HOA protocol!" I stepped over the writhing goon. "This is private property," I said, voice like steel. "You broke in. You tried to steal. That's not a fine, that's a felony." Cameras rolled, mine and the neighbors'. Margaret's face twisted, but she saw the truth. She wasn't feared anymore. She was exposed. Her men limped off, abandoning their tools. She retreated last, seething, her sunglasses hiding nothing. Within hours, Margaret flooded inboxes with rants, calling me a rogue threat. But she'd overplayed her hand. The Kims posted a video of her smashing their holiday lights at 3 a.m. The Thompsons shared HOA budgets showing Margaret siphoning dues into her own company. The Lins uploaded audio of her hurling slurs during an inspection. The dam broke. Emails became shouts. Shouts became meetings. The next HOA assembly was a powder keg. I didn't want to go, but sometimes you need to face the dragon. The clubhouse was packed, voices electric. Margaret took the podium, pearls gleaming, smile brittle. "We face chaos!" she cried, slamming her clipboard. I stepped forward, dropping a folder that landed like a grenade. "Documented crimes," I said. "Theft, fraud, discrimination." I read aloud. $42,000 funneled to Voss Consulting LLC. Gasps erupted. Margaret stammered, lies crumbling. "You built a throne on fear," I said. "It's ash now." The room roared. "Vote her out!" The chant swallowed her. Her clipboard fell, hands shaking. The board voted Margaret Voss, removed, pending investigation. She fled, her empire in dust. The next day, her desperate emails accused everyone, me of terrorism, the Kims of treason. It only fueled the fire. The county launched a probe. Neighbors shared evidence, unafraid. At a final meeting, the new president, Mrs. Carver, 72 and fierce, banned Margaret for life. Every hand rose. I didn't vote. I didn't need to. Pinewood Heights breathed again. Kids played. Flags flew. No patrols, no fines. One evening, I found a plaque on my oak tree, "Freedom lives here." No name, just truth. I flipped an old DoD medallion in my hand, smiling. Margaret thought rules made her invincible. She forgot. You can't bully a community that remembers how to fight. So, what's the lesson? Tyranny doesn't always wear a crown. Sometimes it's a clipboard and a smile. Margaret mistook silence for surrender, but one spark can burn a paper kingdom. If you're facing a bully, HO, or petty tyrant, document everything. Build your army. Speak loudly ud. Justice isn't given, it's forged. Now I want your take. Ever faced an HOA nightmare? What's the craziest rule you've seen? Did you fight back? Share your story in the comments. Let's expose these power trips. And what do you think? Was my response to Margaret's raid justified, or did I go too far? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if you cheered, and subscribe for more real justice stories. Tap the bell so you don't miss the next tyrant's fall. Because the wildest wars aren't fought in trenches, they're fought on front lawns.